Hello and welcome back to everyone that's tuned in to the American Ultra Stock channel. Thank you so much for being here today. As you see, the spirits are high. I feel like I can confidently say it's the best and the most exciting that I've seen us play in the past however many years. And here we are to give you guys our player ratings slash review of the match, the second leg of the Nations League. We beat Jamaica 4-2. Before we go into the player ratings, which you guys love so much, Braden, your initial takeaways, thoughts on the aftermath of what was a very dominant performance, can we say?
I think we can definitely say it was dominant. I'm very happy about the win. I think everyone is going to have high spirits. There's going to be some things to critique, and we'll get into that later. But overall, I think it's basically almost what we could have asked for. Clean sheet would have been nice. There was a couple bad defensive moments, particularly in the second half. But I mean, to be fair, we had already won the game. We came out with a perfect intensity and just kept it going for most of the first half. And even in the second half, we were creating a lot of chances. A lot more wasted chances than I think there were in the first 45. But overall, just very happy about the result, and hopefully this is just the beginning for this team. I think having Weah back especially was a huge boost. We were just firing on all cylinders.
Yeah, I feel like there are some storylines there, and we'll get more into it later on in the video. But getting into it right now, from this, we'll analyze the player ratings, and we'll start with the goalkeeper. The guys that came in and came on and were influential, like Weah, we will grade them after the starting lineup. Just a disclaimer right here for anyone. And just starting with Matt Turner, your thoughts on 1 through 10. How would you grade his match? I feel like he's probably the one who's going to get, well, there's another one, but we'll get a question mark on his performance. Your thoughts, Braden?
Yeah, a bit of a mixed bag. I think he did make a couple of good saves, although I think his best save didn't end up mattering because Shamar Nicholson was offside in the end. But I think the first goal, I don't know, honestly. I think the second goal in particular is you don't want to blame him because he did make the save, but he also parried it right to Demarai Gray. First goal, you can't really blame him. Honestly, now that I'm remembering it back, it was just a really nice goal from Jamaica. I think they deserve credit. Demarai Gray got in the right place at the right time. It was a nice assist as well from Isaac Hayden. But I think that's more on Joe Scally, who we'll get to, but he lost his man. And the second one you could argue was on him as well. I'm going to give Turner 5.5. I think it would have been nice for a clean sheet. He made some decent saves, but nothing really jaw-dropping, and you could have argued he could have done better on at least the second goal.
I'll be honest, maybe I'm going to sound really harsh right here, but watching this, if this is our new reality of how we play with fluidity, with confidence, and with alternatives too, and there's not just one path to get a goal, which I think it's so nice that all players are participating. I feel like Turner, although he's the best we got right now, is going to hold this generation back. And I'll be honest, that first goal, yeah, it wasn't his fault. Can't really say it's his fault. It's not really his fault, but a good goalkeeper saves that, in my opinion. A good goalkeeper saves that. If that's Tim Howard, I know that's a crazy standard to hold him to. He saves it. Guzan, back in his Aston Villa days, would save that, in my opinion. And Matt Turner lets that one in. Second one, I think it's pretty ridiculous. Not so, I mean, he was put in a bad spot by his defense with Scally, but then again, I feel like a good goalkeeper would save that. There's a reason why he doesn't start for his clubs, and I think we saw it, but he's still the best we got. But this should be an alarming sound. A bell should ring in the ears of every goalkeeper, American goalkeeper out there. This spot is basically up for grabs. I feel like it really could be up for grabs, but we'll move on right here. Sorry, guys, for starting so negative, but it is the way that it shapes up. We're going to go with Scally right here. I think the two worst performers today. All right, back. I think his time as a starter is probably coming to an end since Dest is edging closer to come back. How do you see his matchup against Jamaica today? Very shaky, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a shame we have to start so negative after such a positive game because, I mean, like you said, really the only two, I think, bad performers are first up in the lineup. Scally was horrible, man. I don't understand how you can lock up Vinny Jr. and then get cooked by Demarai Gray and Ronaldo Cephas. I mean, I know Vinny has a curse for Brazil, but, like, it's kind of ridiculous to me. I think the Copa America is really the only time Scally has looked good in the last several years, club or country. For club, I think he gets overrated just because he plays in the Bundesliga and people don't really watch most of his games, which, to be fair, the amount of players we have playing at similar times, I wouldn't want to watch a right back either. But he puts in average at best performances week in, week out, and just continues to keep his spot because they have nobody else. That's kind of what we're seeing here for the USMNT. It's going to be so fun when Dest is back, though. I will say that, because the fluidity we had, like you said, I mean, Jedi Robinson was tucking inside as a 6. Weah, Musa, Pulisic, Pepe, McKennie were so interchangeable. Once we add a weapon like Dest on the attacking side it's going to be really, really fun. And even on the defensive side, that's where Dest gets critiqued a lot, but Scally wasn't good at all today, so is it much of a drop-off? I'm not sure. I think you can argue Scally's at fault for both goals. Like I said, he lost his man, Jamari Gray, on the first one, and on the second one, he let substitute Ronaldo Cephas, who really hasn't done much in his career at all. I like him because I kind of discovered him before Jamaica called him up. But, I mean, he just cooked him, and then Turner parries it right to Jamari Gray, and it's the second goal. Hopefully, Scally's time is done, since our next 8-team camp is in March. He'll probably be a backup for that. Maybe Fossey's even preferred to him because he's more of a like-for-like for Dest. But who knows? I'm going to give Scally a 3.
Exactly what I was going to give him, and I feel, honestly, it's sad to start on such a negative. I don't think there's much for me to say, really. It's spot on. That's what I think. And yeah, for Scally, a bad couple of auditions with Poch at the helm. I think that he definitely, and I agree with you, I don't think it's as big of a drop-off defensively compared to Dest, and we won't even get into the attacking part. But moving on right here to Mark McKenzie, who, again, so happy to see him starting games right now for the national team. Come a long way since the Berhalter days, where he was always overlooked. And how do you evaluate his match?
Yeah, I gave Turner, I think, a 5.5, so I'll give McKenzie a 6. I think there were a couple shaky moments, and that seems to be inevitable for McKenzie, which isn't necessarily great, but besides maybe one or two instances, he's always really solid. I think he didn't really have too many flaws, didn't really have much of a chance to do anything, especially in the first half. We were so dominant, had some pretty routine passes out to Scally, to Ream, whatever. I mean, he just kind of had a boring game, I would say, which is kind of good for a center back. That's what you want. I wouldn't necessarily blame him for either of the goals, so I think I'll give him a 6. Not bad, but not necessarily a standout.
Yeah, I'll give him a 5.5. Not really trying to put a knock on him. I don't know. I feel like there's always a bit of shakiness there. But hey, I think that compared to our center back pool, do we have anyone better to put out there right now with I think the ceiling, really? I would start him if I get into more. We're going to get into Ream right next, but I would start McKenzie, Richards. I feel like they're both fast. If they make a mistake, they can still recover. Yeah, I'll give them a 5.5. Bit of a standard match. Nothing too wrong and very boring. There's not much to evaluate, really. We were in the front foot the whole time. Now, moving on to Ream, who seems to be inevitable, even though he's old. And the guy, just a little disclaimer too, the guy that's definitely cheap because he's from St. Louis, and he didn't sort anyone from his family or his friends out. And he kind of said it proudly too, which is funny. But your thoughts on his match?
Yeah, I'll give Ream a 6.5. I thought he was pretty solid in this game. Maybe you can say there was one or two moments where he was caught out, but I think his tactical knowledge, his soccer IQ showed out at a couple of times. He always seems to use that, especially to make up for his lack of pace. But just because he had a good game against Jamaica, or maybe even not even good, just a solid game, doesn't mean we shouldn't be moving on from him. It's almost 2025. I mean, I don't know why he's still here. I said it in the preview, and I think in the takeaways for the last leg too. We need to find a new captain. Maybe Pulisic will be that. He seemed very motivated today. He seemed to be spurring on his teammates. Hopefully it's him. Maybe it's someone else. I honestly don't care. Just someone who's more ready to be a contributor for the A team and isn't going to be declining every single camp. So I think, and also just give some other center backs opportunities, because I think McKenzie, it's safe to say he has a decent chance at being a starter in the 2026 World Cup, but Ream's not going to be his partner. And if he is, we're in trouble. We need to give other players opportunities. Hopefully next camp is Chris Richards. I like the fact he didn't play at all because he was coming off an injury. We didn't need to rush him back, but next camp he needs to be starting next to McKenzie in all the games. So hopefully we see that, but it's a solid game from Ream.
Yeah, I think it's a 6-2, and I was going to say exactly that. Let's not get too carried away with this performance right here, because if it was a legitimately good performance, or wow, he stood out, then we can say, wow, maybe he still got it. But I think it was just solid, which is fine. But it doesn't show the signs to, I think, just justify putting him over some of the younger guys that have a bigger chance of contributing in 26. So I'll give him a 6-2. Nothing too great, but nothing too bad. Now moving on to Jedi, very active. And I like how much Poch brought him into the game, really, with his tactics.
Yeah, Jedi was fantastic. I mean, on the left-hand side, tucking inside as sort of a dual six with Tessman, allowing McKennie to go forward. I think everything was perfect, and a lot of the credit can be given to Poch, too, for the role that he had Jedi playing. I think this is the first time, really, I've seen him more as an inverted fullback at times. Usually he's kind of playing as a left wing back, left midfielder, bombing up, and he did do that, too. He did that well, but I think just the flexibility was huge for us today, and he got the assist, very well deserved, to Ricardo Pepi. Good awareness to play that ball, well done by Pepi as well to stay on side. I'm going to give Jedi a 7.5. I thought he was very, very good.
I was going to give him an 8, honestly. I think it's one of the best matches I've seen Jedi play for us, and that's very interesting when you have a good coach like that can see some things. Like, he put Musa more out wide since he's ever prone on the ball to give it away, and Jedi, he has the engine to cover more than just be stuck on the wings, really. I think that opens up so many possibilities for us tactically, so I'll give him an 8, honestly. I feel like it's a high grade, but I can't put him lower than that. Now we move on right here to the CDM. It was Tanner Tessman right here, taking advantage of the injury from Morris and Johnny. He got another opportunity. Your thoughts on his matchup?
I'm going to give Tessman a 7. I think he is one of the players who helped his stock the most in this camp. Not to say he was one of the best players in the camp necessarily, but it's just everyone else who was better than him already has their places solidified. I think he's one of the few who had maybe it was a question mark for his place in the team, because we know there's a lot of competition. Tyler Adams is going to be back next camp, presumably. There's obviously Johnny Cardoso, who got hurt in the first game. Aiden Morris got hurt before the first game, so he had to leave camp. There's so much competition at that spot, but Tessman, both games, looked so good, so calm. And I think this game he was so excellent playing the through balls. I mean, he created several chances by himself. It won't show up in the stat sheet because he didn't play the final pass, but he played the initial one, the through ball, the long balls. It's one of his best qualities, and he continues to go against the agenda that he should be a center back. Completely ridiculous. I think it was a perfect game from him. I'd love to see him continue starting at the 6.
Yeah, I'll give him a 7 too, maybe a 7.5. I thought that goal by Pulisic, that's some awareness really to play the ball right there. And I've seen him be so slow for Venezia in the past. It seems like he's gotten a little bit faster. He got to the final ball that McKennie, great vision by McKennie, and the little dummy, that's amazing to watch. And I feel like on the ball, he probably showed that, because some people may look at it the way his build is and think he's just a physical guy, but he's very technical, very good passer of the ball, and also good awareness really defensively. I think for him you're right, I think it was a question mark. He had a lot to prove to the fan base, and I don't think he looked out of place at all. Very good performance from him. I'll put 7.5, definitely raised his stock, and maybe he could be a regular, not a starter, but a regular on these rosters going forward. Next to him, at times not next to him, but we had Weston McKennie, got the 2 assists. Really good match from Wes, and I think that he is definitely benefiting from Poch at the helm. What do you think about his matchup, his rating?
He was fantastic. He was absolutely everywhere, whether he's making the runs down the right-hand side even more than Musa was at times, which was, I think, a little bit funny in the midfield. That first assist to Pulisic, perfect. One of the best balls I've seen in a long time, especially from a USMNT player. And, of course, the second one was nice as well. I'm going to give him... I think I should bump up Jedi, honestly. 7.5 seems harsh. I'm going to give, retrospectively, Jedi an 8. I'm going to give McKennie an 8.5. I thought he was absolutely fantastic in the role that he was playing in, sort of as a box-to-box. I don't know why he wasn't playing there against Jamaica in the first leg. I know it was a different sort of game, but he just absolutely controlled this start to finish.
Absolutely, and I think that having a better pitch really showcases how good these players are compared to, maybe that's what Poch saw. It was going to be a tough match, and we looked completely different. I think he was probably the most important one in terms of imposing our will, where he was on the pitch, because he had so much fluidity, could go everywhere. I think that Poch trusted him with a lot of different roles throughout the match, and he didn't disappoint in any of them. I feel like I'll give him an 8 as well. I feel like 8 is a fair rating. Maybe 8.5. I don't know, but a very, very good match from West. And he definitely raised his stock too, because after the summer, some of the things that he did, there could be some people that would be holding that against him, myself included, really. And moving on right here to the right wing, Musa, who seems to be not be really an option in the midfield. He was playing out wide, got to play almost a full match. How do you evaluate probably the biggest test he had as a winger for us, with the biggest amount of time, really, with the rest of the team playing well? Do you think he matches up to that, his rating?
Yeah, I thought he was very good, very concise, and he didn't really lose the ball, which is always my biggest concern with Musa. I don't know whether it's because of the position he's playing, or maybe that just I don't want to say star quality, but all the quality around him, just enabling him to have more passing options than maybe in the past. I think, again, I mean, we talk about the fluidity. There was 5 or 6 passing options at all time for him. He always picked out the right one. The cross to Weah as well for that golazo was perfect. He gets the assist. I would have given him a 7. Gets a nice assist. I'll bump it up 0.5. I'll give him a 7.5.
Yeah, I'll give him a 7.5 too, because I felt like he did well. Honestly, I feel like right wing might be his position. I would much rather watch him there than in the center of the park. He's still a young guy. He can probably still change positions. And at the academy level, he used to play there as a winger. So who knows? Maybe that's his future with the team. I think a very good match from him. And now we move on to the 10, the inevitable guy. 2 goals on the night. Beautiful goals as well. And Pulisic, what a match from him. I don't think anyone can criticize what he did today. Amazing match. Honestly, I'm surprised that we hadn't tried him at the 10 more often. Looking at what he can do now, he's our best player. He gets a lot more into the action playing the 10. What do you think, Brayden?
Yeah, initially when the lineup came out, I was very intrigued because when he has played the 10 for Milan this season, I think it's very fair to say he's been not as good as he has been on the right-hand side. I would have liked to maybe see him on the right, Weah on the left, and then maybe Tillman or Aronson come in at the 10, but it seemed to be a masterstroke. He was, like, once again controlling everything. I think maybe to a lesser extent than in the first leg, because in this game we actually had other players who were contributing something in the attack. No knock to them in the first leg, but it was mainly Pulisic in that one, and here it was everyone. But just excellent finish and run on the first goal, and then a little bit lucky on the second goal with the deflection, but I mean, a goal's a goal. He gets a brace. I'm going to give him a 9. I think he was fantastic, and I think he is man of the match. I gave McKennie an 8.5, so I have to give Pulisic a higher grade. So maybe a 9 is a little bit too much. Maybe it's more like an 8.7, but I don't know. It's still a fantastic match from Captain America, and maybe he will be the captain in the future.
Yeah, maybe he will, because I don't know, he seems, maybe I'm just getting carried away right here, but it seems like his entire aura, like everyone likes to use that word these days, but I think his demeanor has changed a little bit, looks more upbeat, and he's definitely the player that the rest of the roster respects the most, or the other national teams respect the most, and he played really well. I'll give him a 9, really. Didn't do anything wrong on the night, and maybe, I know that this is maybe a topic for the future, let us know, but I know that Gio Reyna, Malik Tillman, they've been battling out for the 10 without really having a marquee match or doing much. If this is how Poch sees us, a way to get pulling more into action, maybe that's the guy who will have at the 10, actually, because on the left side, Tim Weah coming back didn't do anything wrong. That's his preferred side, I would say, and he did really well. I mean, what a golazo. How do you grade his match?
Yeah, I think having him back just did so much. It opened up so much for the team. I'm going to give him an 8.5 because obviously of his performance, but also just the fact that having him back just was such a huge boost. Still not going to forgive what he did in Copa America. I see way too many people praising him for that. It's such a stupid decision, but now's not the time for that. He was fantastic. Obviously, the goal was so perfectly hit, and even from the get-go, the intensity was there. He had a really nice run in the first couple of minutes, ended up hitting the woodwork, which was a little bit unfortunate. I think he was always creating chances for himself, creating chances for others. He was part of the play as well on the Pepe goal. Him and Robinson had a nice little combo, winning the ball back there in Jamaica's half, and then Pepe ended up scoring. I think it was almost flawless from Weah, and I think it just shows how much form matters, honestly, at the club level. I mean, we see Pulisic, you mentioned him having maybe more aura than he did before. I think it's just the confidence that he has having a elite season at AC Milan. He's bringing that into the national team. Now Weah gets informed for Juventus. He's bringing that into USMNT, and if they can just keep this up, I think it's going to be a very scary attack for the future.
Absolutely. I'll give him an 8, really. I don't feel bad not giving him an 8.5. I thought it was a really good match from him. Amazing, and it's amazing to see the comeback, really, from the summer, which, again, I don't really agree with people praising him for that, but let's consider that water under the bridge for now. And amazing match from him today. The attitude, the willingness to go forward, and defensively, always very alert, proactive on the ball, which we would like to see always. And yeah, if you're delivering at the club level, you have a higher chance of delivering at the national team. With a better coach like this, he can definitely reap the benefits. I'll give him an 8. Really happy for Weah. What a nice goal he scored. Now moving on to the number 9, Pepe. And some say that he stole Pulisic's hat trick. But and I would like to ask you, after your rating, do you think he is the new 9? Because I see that debate. Maybe that's recency bias from people. Can we imagine what Balogun would do if he was playing today? But we have to rate Pepe right here. How do you see his match? Do you think it was wasteful in any ways? I'm curious to see your rating.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 7.5. It was a very, very nice goal. And I mean, that's his job as a striker. I'm so happy he scored it in both games. Absolutely took his chance in this camp, having, of course, Balogun and Sargent out and Vasquez being Brandon Vasquez. So he was the only option, really, and he delivered in both games. I do think his hold-up play was a lot better tonight than it was in the first leg. That's probably somewhat down to the pitch. I mean, we know the conditions weren't great in Kingston, but I thought it was a lot better. He did more to help us maintain possession, which was pretty key. I think it was probably like a 7.0 game, maybe slightly better than Musa's 7.5 was, just because of the goal versus the assist, but just really all you can ask, I think, from Pepe as a striker. And I don't want to necessarily say he's our out-and-out number 9 because Balogun has been hurt. It's a little bit unfair, especially after the Copa America that he did have. But I will say I'm very, very excited to see the next camp that they're both healthy for. Hopefully that comes in March for the Nations League semifinals and the final. We'll have 2 games in that camp. I think it's going to be very telling to see who wins out the battle of training, who gets the start. Because, I mean, if Pepe continues delivering like he has been for club and country, I think he kind of is inevitable. But Balogun is there as well. So whoever starts, I think it's a win-win, honestly.
It's a good headache to have, definitely. I would much rather have this than back in the gloomy days of Jesus Ferreira starting. And honestly, props to Pepe. I will say I think he could be more clinical at times. I think ideally he should have gotten more than 1 tonight, but he scored a goal on both games, a very important one in the first one, and he took his chance, even though, yeah, it could have been better here and there, but he didn't look out of place, looked well. The team looked good with him as the forward as well in the build-up play. So definitely, this is what Josh Sargent should have done, take his chance. So I think that if he's not the 9, he's the de facto super sub. I know he hates the word, but he is the guy right up next because he shows it. There's a clear difference between him and the rest of the pack, really, that are behind him. Now we'll move on right here to Buzio and Brandon Aronson. They came on at the same time, 69th minute. I was a little surprised to see both of them coming on at that time, but your thoughts on their match? Oh, you can rate them individually as well, just grouping up the ones that came on at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was nice that they came on together, more so that they came on for McKennie and Pulisic coming off at the same time so they could get a standing ovation that they so well deserved after a fantastic game from both of them. I mean, both of Pulisic's goals came from McKennie assists, so it's nice to see them finally connecting. I actually don't think they've had goals like that in the past for the USMNT. I think the amount of goals that Pulisic scores assisted by McKennie have been quite low, so maybe he can build up that connection like he has with Vlahovic at club level. Fingers crossed. But I think it was a very solid game from both of them. Busio just looking silky as always on the ball in the midfield, doing I think the little things right, which is nice to see. I'll give him a 6.5. I'll give Aronson a 6.5 as well. I think he did some very nice things. The through ball to Vasquez was beautiful, but of course Vasquez had to be offside and still missed the chance, which is ridiculous. We'll get into him later. And then that solo run at the end, I think, was very nice. And he did one key thing in that I think a lot of people bash him for usually. He stayed on his feet and he maintained the ball. There was one challenge that came into him. It kind of slowed him down a little bit, but he kept the ball and ended up beating that defender and a couple others, set up the chance. But, I mean, it was Cowell and I think Zendejas who were on the end of that, maybe Scally. So you can't really expect much from that. He arguably could have had 2 assists if better players were in those situations. I think he was very solid, not much to hate on. I do think it's interesting that Tillman didn't come on in this spot. I think it kind of just shows maybe not how little Poch rates him, but maybe the intensity is not always there in training. We know that for all the criticism he gets, that's the one thing Aronson always has, the intensity. So I think a very solid cameo from both of the subs here.
Absolutely. I was going to say that I hope that Brendan watches that back and sees, hey, this is what might happen if I hit the gym more, because I feel like he's such a good player technically. And today, I know he has a lot of haters. I'm not the biggest fan either. Want to say that outright. I think he's a useful sub. He played really well. I mean, I don't think that there's any way someone can say he didn't play well, not just solid. I thought he did really well. And I will say, though, this guy is similar to McKenzie, doesn't have the best of lucks. I mean, he can't buy an assist. He was supposed to get an assist tonight, even at club level. I feel like he sets people up so often. Doesn't have as good numbers as he should have, because the people that are finishing the chances aren't clinical enough. I'll give him a 7. I felt like that was a good match. And from Buzio, 6.5. Didn't have much to do, I think, because of the role and at the time that he came on, the solidity that you needed to have on the midfield. But he did well, didn't do anything bad. Another guy that is creeping in, it's fair to say, he has taken over Luca de la Torre, at least on that 8th position. I feel like that's fair to say. And it's a good camp for him. Now, moving on right here to Brendan Vasquez. I know Cowell came as well, and I don't know if you want to do one solo for Vasquez right here. I feel like it deserves one, and then we'll move on to Cowell afterwards. Vasquez got the chance, and maybe he proved why he's a sub at Monterrey.
Yeah, I was actually having a conversation with a Monterrey fan after the game as well, who mentioned that he's been, after his very good start, which he had the first several games, he was pretty good scoring the goals. Since then, he's been allegedly, and not my words, the words of a Monterrey diehard, he's been one of their worst players since the 1960s. I think that says it all, really. I mean, in the first game, he missed a couple of chances. In this one, it was even more so. The fact that, I don't know, he can't read his lines. He's always offside, and even when he still misses one-on-one opportunities. It's just, I don't know, man. I like the intensity he showed against Mexico, but I'm starting to think now that was only because it was against Mexico. It's against a bunch of players that he plays against within Liga MX, even some that he plays with at the club level as well. And of course, it's his other nationality. As a Mexican American, there's always going to be a little bit more fire playing your other nation. But against Jamaica, he just didn't have it. And I think for all of the flack that Sargent gets, I think he's probably putting one of those chances away across the 2 legs. I think it just shows the quality drop that we have after mainly the top 2, but even after the top 3. I think Balogun and Pepe, huge drop. Sargent, huge drop. Maybe it's not even Vasquez, Pifok, Ferreira, whoever. Maybe it's time to give Damian Downs a chance as the 3rd striker. Haji Wright would have been a big inclusion if he didn't get hurt before the camp, but absolute disaster from Vasquez. I'll give him a 2.
Yeah, I will say I have to give him a 0. I mean, the guy was born offside. What's going on? I mean, at some point you need to be able to, I mean, he's already 27? Is he 26, 27? I don't know his exact age, but I would imagine he's around that. I think he's a year older than me or so.
26.
26, yeah. He's supposed to be in his prime. He's a bench at Liga MX. And look at the way he played. He really should have gotten a goal today. Ridiculous. You're supposed, for a guy like him to have this golden opportunity to be playing with the A-teamers, with a new coach, while other guys are out, you're supposed to somehow make yourself, at least give a little bit of a head scratch to the coach on the next roster, but I don't think that will be the case. A ridiculous performance. I'll give him a 0. I don't think he did anything well. It sounds harsh, but for a guy like him, he needed to do a little bit more, a lot more. But moving on right here to Cowell, his other Liga MX counterpart. I'll be honest, I was quite happy with Cowell. I'm curious to see how you saw his match.
Yeah, this is going to be the last one for the players, at least, because Zendejas came on in the 88th minute. We can't really rate him. He didn't have much of a time to make an impact. Would he have regardless? I don't know. But for Cowell, I think it was a very Cowell game. Really, there's one moment that I think stands out. And there was the chance at the end as well that I mentioned for Aronson that he created that maybe he could have done better on. But the one moment he gets the ball, uses his pace well down the wing, and then the final cross just is way too hard, goes flying past everybody and out of bounds. It's the most Cade Cowell play I've ever seen. I mean, he uses his athleticism so well, his pace, get down the byline, and then story of his life, his final product lets him down. It could have been an assist if the ball was right, although I don't know who was on the end of it. If it was Vasquez, he probably would have still missed. It's a little unlucky, but yeah, I mean, I'm going to give Cowell a 4 just because it's the same old story. I mean, at this point, we can expect. I mean, I could have told you what would have happened in that play before it happened. It's just too predictable. And having a super sub who has a lot of pace is not necessarily a bad thing, but I would like a little bit of technical quality added on top of that. Maybe that player is Cole Campbell in the future. Just had an excellent game for the U20s, but who knows? I think it's so Cowell, and I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that he got the, well, not a little, I'm very surprised that he got the call up. I think I said it on our roster review. I'd much rather see Campbell be integrated slowly, get acclimated to the A team. I think it's more useful to have a guy like that than Cowell. But from what I expect from Cowell, it wasn't a bad match. I mean, he was running around. He's good at running. Wasn't that bad on the ball up until the final third, which again is what you need to be good at. But I thought ultimately not that bad of a match. He created volume, if that's what we needed, and I don't know, I'll give him a 5.5. I don't think that for Cato was that bad of a match, and it's nice for him to get a run around with the A-teamers. I don't know how often that will happen for him, but we're talking about A-teamers, guys that had their audition, and it's all because of one man, Mauricio Pochettino. I think that tactically he had a masterclass. I'm curious to see what would be your rating. Does he take the man of the match from Pulisic?
Yeah, honestly, I think he does, because I think everything well that we did, not everything, because there's obviously some quality that is involved in that, and I think we saw that even more so when some of the subs like Vasquez and Cowell came on at the end, but I'm going to give him a 9.5. I can't give him a 10 because of the lack of a clean sheet, which wasn't his fault at all. That was mainly Scally that is to blame for that. But, I mean, he's still the manager, I guess. It's not like he could have picked anyone else because he didn't select a backup right back for the camp. And maybe that's why I'll deduct half a point, because not having a backup fullback in any situation, I think he's a little bit naive. But besides that, I mean, the tactics were flawless. The fluidity is something we've never seen from the USMNT. It looks like it was a Pep Guardiola team out there, and I mean, anything would compared to a Greg team, and I think that was the perfect moment. Seeing Greg in the stands at the game, I think it's a little bit funny that you get fired from your job and then still show up to work, but it would have been really nice if Weah shushed him as well after the goal. That would have been the perfect moment. But I think Greg finally got to witness some real tactics. Maybe he'll learn a thing or two and implement it with the Chicago Fire. Likely not, but I think everything was perfect. I mean, just you look at the roles of all the players: Jedi, Desmond, McKennie, Musa, Pulisic, Pepe, Weah, all of them just executed to perfection. Just almost flawless from Poch, and hopefully this is what we see going forward.
Yeah, I know that the guy that we compare him to, it's not even a fair comparison, but just looking at the lineup, at the way that we played, how many of these players out there today played a similar role with Greg? Almost none. Even Pulisic didn't play the 10. It's like a completely different team. I'll give Poch an 8.5 on this match. Again, I look at the lack of a fullback backup. That kind of hurts, and Cade Cowell being there. I really would have liked to see Cole Campbell get a match with these guys, but overall, amazing. And I think it opens up so many new possibilities for us as a team. For example, this is a topic for a future video, but maybe even Wes as a right midfielder and Pulisic as the 10. Who knows? I mean, I feel like this really opens up so many possibilities. It's nice to see we have a quality guy at the helm, and I'm very optimistic now. It was a really good camp from him. Let us know in the comments below, what do you guys think? How do you see the player ratings? Do you agree with us? Do you not agree with us? Who was your man of the match? Thoughts for next roster? If you want to talk about that in the comments, we'll do our best to respond. Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time.